Give you a couple of ideas about how to move your feet and about how feet and ankles work, and then maybe give you a couple things you can do on your own. And that's the foot and the ankle rolling out, or the foot and the ankle rolling in. My foot does flex and flex, my toes flex and extend, and my ankle also rolls out and rolls out in. We have inversion and eversion, and sometimes we even talk about it like a wrist, pronation and supination. That's a lot of mobility in an ankle joint. The joints in our bodies that really move similar to that would be in our hip joints or our shoulders. The shoulder and the hip joints are ball and sockets, but the ankle joint is really different. It's part of why humans can stand up and move around and do so much. This is one of the places tons of people get in trouble with the way that they move. If a person loses the ability to gently roll in and out, that often interferes with the dorsiflexion as well. We can't just think about the ankle joint in and of itself. So if I can't do it here, I'll probably try to force it here or in my low back. This is where I think the gold is for today. When my foot rolls in and out, you might be able to see. Watch this part right here. When my foot rotates out, almost like I was gonna roll my ankle doing sports. If you watch this part right here, it rotates as well. So when my ankle rolls out, my tibial plateau goes out. When my ankle rolls in, the tibial plateau goes in as well. If I wanted to sit down or squat or do something where I had to lower my body pretty well, one of the ways that I can get more motion on the way down is to let the leg bones, namely the femurs, turn out a little bit. That has to do with the way the femur head sits in the acetabulum in the pelvis. So when I turn my knee out a bit, it makes it easier for that hip joint to go deeper. If you think about a slalom skier going down the hill with both skis and both feet going straight ahead, that's a spot where it's really tough to get deep into the hip joints. But you're never gonna see a slalom skier turn the knees out really wide and go down the hill with the skis going in opposite directions. That'd be crazy. If you did want to sit down in a chair, or you had something really heavy that you wanted to pick up, what you might do is turn that foot out, point the shin and the tibial plateau that direction so that the femur can go that way, and make good use of all those big glute and hamstring muscles and be able to avoid having to bend in the low back so much. We don't always turn the foot out. It is possible. Movement of my ankle allows my shin to rotate. The condyles, or the part of the upper leg bone that fit into those menisci on the tibial plateau, to stay firmly planted in there, and I get to access that movement into the hip joint. And the growth of biomechanics and kinesiology has helped us understand how the mobility, rolling in, rolling out, flexing and flexing in the ankle, relates with very similar patterns in the hip joint. What can you do to check yours and to do a little bit of work to affect yours and maybe help it? You might find a kitchen chair 2 to 3 steps up on a flight of steps. Those are pretty standard. So if you put your foot up on something and you just simply let your body lean forward and notice if the heel lifts or doesn't, we're gonna get an idea of how tight or how this stuff behaves. Movement is behavioral work. Things I would like to do is be able to see this knee get well past, probably 3 to 4 inches past the toenails. Now you can survive pretty good if your knees just barely get past your toenails, but that's also gonna show us that you're gonna have a tougher time squatting down low or stepping up really high on something like a step or a boulder. To check that ability to roll in and out. And on this one, for today, we're not really going to go into degrees and how far you should see it. I just want to give you these tips. When you roll to the outer edge of the foot, I don't want this to be entirely passive. So I don't want to train the mobility here and not hold stability. You could roll it out just to get an idea of the movement. What I want you to eventually do is, as you roll the foot and ankle out, push that outer edge down. You could get even more fancy and do these little TikToks where you kind of tip it forward and then you lift it back And I mean TikToks is something like going back and forth, not the TikTok channel. When you roll it in, I want to practice taking that big toe and I want to push it down. Inner arch stabilizing neuromuscular development. Okay, so I got my in, spread the toes, pull the outer edge up. You might feel these muscles working and those muscles. Roll it out and push down. You could do a little heel up and toes up, and you might feel those muscles deep in here. If you can feel or get that feedback that the muscles are working, fantastic. Tomorrow, when you wake up, you might feel like your ankles are pretty stiff. When you go for your stretch, because of the stuff we're doing, rolling the foot in and out, you might want to do a little bit of roll as you do that calf stretch. Now, when you're doing that with a straight leg, knee is more straight. Instead of seeing just the lower leg rotate, what we're hoping to see is that the lower leg, the knee, the whole leg, except for the ankle and the hip joint, rotates as a unit. Now, if you're one of my yoga friends out there, this is great stuff to do in your downward facing dog. Hold it for a little bit, begin to develop some of that neuromuscular awareness rather than that kinesthetic amnesia. Try the exercises. Let me know how it goes. All right, thanks. This is Adam Ballinger.